What is up, Retro Maniacs? Welcome to the Retro Card Chat Podcast. My name is Mike. I am from Mike's Retro Trading Cards, and I'm joined by two men that have a brand new hobby. They like to buy and sell cards of themselves on Twitter. They are, of course, Joe Day and EP Eric Pahalik. How you doing, guys?
I feel like we've made it, man. If you have cards of yourself and you're trading them back and forth amongst each other, I mean, that's like the pinnacle. That's where you want to be in the hobby for sure.
You're a star.
But if someone finds my one-of-one printing plate, I expect to get that.
Just send it to you.
Yeah, just send it to me for sure.
Yeah. How about you, EP? Did you get your card yet?
Nope. I just let them out there in the world. I don't need them.
Oh, wow.
More of my face out in the world.
So magnanimous.
You are the unicorn of this whole project. Doesn't seem to be the way it's going. Of course, we like to have fun here. We're fun guys.
Yes.
So, Joe, you're cracking open a beer, or what's going on here?
No beer for me today. I'm actually in a couple of hours from filming. I am going to go see Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. So I'm very excited to see that. The last of the James Gunn Marvel movies should be great. I've heard it's pretty phenomenal. I'm expecting characters to die, so yeah, probably. But yeah, no beer for me today. So I'm the driver. So I'm gonna stay nice and sober for the ride. I might have a beer at lunch, but I mean. So
when's the review video gonna drop?
Day Drinking with Joe and EP. I think we're doing a review, right, EP?
Mm-hmm, right. Yep.
Okay.
We'll do a no spoiler review of the first episode, then the
no spoiler review. Then let people prepare themselves, and then we'll do a spoiler review the next time.
That's code for EP saying I'm not going to see the movie by then.
Not in time for it.
I'm planning to see it next weekend. I'm hoping I can
see
it.
Oh wow. So. That's early for you, man.
Yeah.
Yep. You'll probably beat me. I don't know if I'll get to the theater to see it or not.
Well, I'm such a massive Guardians fan. Like they're probably the two that have come before that are probably in my top 5 Marvel movies, maybe top 3.
I mean, we know what number 1 is. So. We know what number 1 is. I quote, the greatest movie since Citizen Kane, Thor: Love and Thunder from EP Eric Pahalik.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's number 1, and then the next 2 Guardians, I'm guessing, are the first.
I was like, wow, EP is all in on Thor: Love and Thunder.
He was
like, wow.
He said it was. He was in love with it. I think he saw it like 5-6 times in the theater.
I thought it was like 12, wasn't it?
I
thought it was 5 or 6 like the first night, but then he added those couple other.
After you guys were like, dude, you got to stop. I still want 2 more times.
Yeah, I know.
Dude works 20 hours a day, but he made time to see Thor: Love and Thunder in the theater at least a baker's dozen.
Easily. How much is a baker's dozen? Like, why 13. Is that called a
13?
Why I know
because you make an extra one so you have something to test.
Oh, so you get to eat it.
In case something
one for
screws
yourself
up.
To eat.
Yeah, pretty much. Baker's dozen. Yeah.
We are here to inform our viewers.
That's former Perkins.
I'm like the only person here that didn't know that, but we're informing the viewers. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, so what's new and exciting, EP? I heard a little rumor that you may have bought a lot of cards. Not a lot, a lot of cards.
I mean,
like
both are accurate, actually. 675 of them.
Yeah, I guess
that's to be exact. That's
I mean, to me, that doesn't seem like buying a lot. Like
right.
I usually have to cart them out to my trunk, so that's a lot of cards. But yeah.
That's essentially a few trips to the card shop for you, Mike, where you go and pick up a stack. Well, I got my stack through eBay. So 25 cents a card, lots of really fun inserts, like baseball inserts, stuff that I don't own from like the mid 2000s, like 2003, 2007, some of those sorts of cards. So really cool stuff. Pulled a couple aside maybe to possibly get graded, like some Jeers and Griffies that are really cool looking. So I'm excited about it. Yeah.
I heard there was a mystery finest in there. Did you peel it?
There were a bunch of mystery finest. For some reason, there was one that was unpeeled, and I did, in fact, peel it. Anybody saw on Twitter, follows me on Twitter, saw yesterday I was a Griffey refractor, which I mean,
nice.
I'm like thinking, do I peel it or try to sell it as it is? Because on the back it had, it was like the Nomo, Griffey, Frank Thomas, Cal Ripken. It could be a stacked card. I was like, I'm just gonna peel it. I'm gonna peel it.
Yeah,
he's a peeler, man.
I start.
You have to peel that.
I start peeling it. I see the shine of the refractor. I was like, ooh, it's a refractor. I got a little excited. And I peel a little bit more. I saw Griffey's head. I was like, it's a Griffey refractor. I was like, I was so excited.
Did you literally yell that out loud?
I didn't.
No.
In my head, I was.
Were you literally shaking though?
In my head, I was literally shaking as I was.
Is that your grail?
It's not my grill. So I don't
good
own
investment,
it
though.
And yeah,
That'll be a great addition to your portfolio.
Yep, fire, pure fire.
Let's go.
Boom.
Oh wow! I don't even know what I was gonna say now, but yeah, that's a pretty cool car.
Yeah, it's fun.
I don't want to hack Neo cards and comics, but man, those older refractors are just so much nicer. I'm glad he pointed that out because I would never have known.
It's like
I poke. Like, I have fun. It's fun. Just a little.
We say it with love.
We're retro guys. It's like welcome to the club. I'm glad you finally noticed it. Like, it's funny. Yeah,
it is funny.
Speaking of one other cool thing from that, there were a couple cards where they had the peel on them, but they were kind of like half peeled or the peel was crinkled. So I was like, I'm just gonna peel it all the way off. And every card that you peel off with one of those protectors on there, they have a shine. Like a gloss on them that you don't see in regular like finest or chrome anymore. Like it is, they're pristine, like really really cool looking with it once you peel that sticker off.
Oh yeah,
I've had some like newer ones where I'm like I sit as that's a refractor, and I'm like, wait a minute, is that actually a refractor? Yeah, like you have to look at like there's no question with the older, even like the mid 2000s stuff. Like I don't know when it changed. Obviously, when I wasn't into collecting, but like even like that 2005, 2006, that kind of era, that stuff was really shiny. The 90s stuff though is like amazing.
Oh no, that's the best.
Yeah. So they need to go back to that.
There's probably some chemical, like cancer-causing chemical or something in it. You know what I mean? Like we're like, oh god, we got to stop using this. You know what I mean?
The same stuff they put in 92 Ultra baseball packs.
Whenever Alico 3 does a reveal and he puts his little sunglasses emoji up whenever he pulls a card from the 90s that has a refractor, you know, it's they're great. They're the best. They're the best to look at, best to display. I mean, they're awesome cards.
Yeah. Stuff like I wish I could go back and get. I watched an auction for a 1996 Topps Chrome Barry Sanders refractor and ended up going for a lot of money, like raw. But yeah, for a hot minute there, I was thinking, I think I might need that card, and I still kind of think I need that card, but it's kind of been put on the back burner a little bit.
Yeah.
So. Well, you want to get in?
I thought the refractors then too were a lot harder to get. Like they're probably way more limited than they are now.
There were 2 to a box back in. I had that discussion with someone recently about they weren't put in to replace autographs and stuff. They were tough and still hold a lot of value today. So
I want to say 99 Chrome. It was like Topps Chrome had like 4 in a box or something. Because I was like, how do I
think
only
they were
have...
still 2 for the Topps Chrome.
Okay. Because I was like, how do I opened a ton of 99 Topps Chrome. How do I only have like 20 refractors? Well, I probably opened 10 boxes.
Probably did. Should have just got a case, but
yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, last week we talked a little bit about, we lovingly called him the idiot of the week. Evan Mathis, not a former Eagle. He's a known card trimmer. He has nothing to do with the Philadelphia Eagles in any way.
I think he won a Super Bowl with the Eagles, didn't he?
2 weeks in a row.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we're talking about him again. To his credit, he did go on the Sports Card Nonsense podcast. And for good or bad, I do appreciate that he's willing to be front and center in this debate and give his side of it. And, listening to him, like he's a very well-spoken person. Like there's no CTE going on or any of the stuff that people are trying to say just because he was a football player. Like he's somebody who is involved in trimming cards. He doesn't make any excuses for that. He doesn't feel bad about it. That's one of the things you said, EP, like no remorse whatsoever. And he doesn't because part of it, like he does bring up a lot of good information in it. I'll go over a little bit of, I don't want to just go point by point, but I do want to pull out a couple of the things that I thought were important. Like one of the things is he really throws PSA under the bus. regardless of how you feel about them, he alluded to a very checkered history of PSA, especially in the 90s. We all know now that the very first card they ever graded was trimmed.
Mm-hmm.
And he alluded to the fact that there were a lot of people involved in PSA back in the day. The graders, maybe people that were management in the company with these. There are a group of people who are behind the scenes that have always trimmed and altered vintage cards. And a lot of the high grade cards that have come through PSA were cards that were altered or trimmed by this group of people that they're in the shadows. They don't want to be known. They don't want people to know how they do it, why they do it, but they apparently, according to Evan Mathis, have made a lot of money doing it over the years. And I do believe there's at least some bit of truth to that. But he alluded to, PSA in the early days were authenticating things that they had no idea what they were really looking at, because the people that were making the decisions were either involved with it in some way, or they just didn't have the knowledge to stop it. And it's a really good point that there are probably a ton of vintage cards already in slabs from that era, especially, that have been trimmed.
It's like the PSA Illuminati or something. Gee,
It
these people go on and trim cards. Yeah, like, and I think we mentioned it before. Sports Card Radio said when they first, started talking about Evan Mathis specifically, that something like they wouldn't be surprised if half the cards in PSA slabs that are vintage, or any, I don't think they specifically said PSA, any grading company, like half of them are probably trimmed. And I never collected vintage. That was never my bag. But man, I would feel, when you feel like seeing all this news, wouldn't you just feel like kind of so suspect about your cards now? Like, wouldn't you
Mhm.
just like look at like the
Yeah.
cards that you have in slabs that you've spent tons of money on? Maybe you even display them. Maybe you're really proud of this collection. You look, and now there's that thought, oh, great, now I have trimmed card. There's a good chance that at least some of these cards that I paid for and love are trimmed. And it's really, it's like, not wanting to go to the doctor to get bad news. Like
Mhm.
you kind of were okay being, ignorant about it, and not knowing specifically, because now there's that thought in your head that maybe there's something wrong with these cards, and it kind of taints them a little bit. Um, unless you pulled a card, or it was your dad's card or grandfather's card from back then, and you sent it to be graded yourself. And that's pretty much the only way I would feel comfortable and not kind of queasy a little bit about owning some of the vintage cards and slabs.
And the crazy thing is, we talked about it last week. Like, Mike sent all those cards in, and he got cards back that that he did not trim. Like, and we're not altered in any way. And but
Yeah,
I
they're
mean,
all we're in a screw down. Yeah.
Right.
yeah. But I mean, these people are actually altering them and actually messing with them and putting. I mean, the way he talked, like anything with an early certification number was super suspect, right? Like literally
Yeah,
everything
high
that
grade.
still has an old, yeah, is probably trimmed, and seems wild to me. But he's made it sound like it was way more widespread on that upper end of the vintage stuff than I would have ever expected, for sure.
And if what he's saying is true, he does bring up a good point. Like, the whole baseball card market, like the upper end of the market, especially with vintage cards, is predicated on these cards that were trimmed. So how do you now look at all these things with through another lens and say they don't have, like, what would it do to the market? Like, he's like absolutely correct in that. Like, we're well beyond the point now where we can go back, which like just clouds everything up. Like you said, Joe, like if you have a card, like if you're Nat Turner and your 1955 Harmon Killebrew that Evan Mathis says looks like it's trim, look, you can tell it moves around in the case, and then you end up selling it because you don't want it anymore, even
Right.
though, yeah. So it really is a conundrum. Like, you can't, he's absolutely right in the fact that if what he's saying is true, and a big chunk of the high grade vintage market that is graded were trimmed in the past. Like, there isn't much you can do about it now, because like if you did, it would pretty much destroy that whole market. Like,
which would destroy the entire card market, right?
Yeah,
Like it would.
And you're not. I don't know really how to make this point, but you have the people that put the most money into it that would be affected the most, and we know that they're not going to do anything that the people with all the money would be affected the most by, right?
Right. And it's not like PSA can, or BGS or whoever, we're talking specifically about PSA. I'm
Just
sure trump
because
cards
that's
have made
who
it
he
through.
brought up, like,
Right.
in the
But
interview.
but you kind of think to yourself, it's not like PSA can do like a massive recall. Like, hey, we need to crack these out and see if they're altered or not. First off, no one's gonna do that. They can't, like, again, I've used this expression a couple of times. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. I mean, all these cards are out there. What are you going to do? You're not going to be able to get them back. They are what they are. So the only thing that could come from this is people now have these vintage cards. The market is less confident in them being authentic and not altered, and that just is going to cause the market, people not willing to put money out there if they see a PSA 8 card from the 1950s or 60s or whatever, and not being willing to put as much money out there to get it. And then it slowly makes everything else worth less and less. And it's, if you own vintage right now, unless you were 1,000% sure that it's not trimmed, because again, it was something, family card or something like that. What do you do? What would you guys do if you had cards like that? I mean, would you be like, I might just take my chances and get rid of them and move on? But I mean, a lot of people put a lot of time and money into building, sets or whatever. It's tough.
If I had a card like that, it would be something. I don't have a lot of high end cards, so that would be something that I would keep anyway. Like I wouldn't even, it wouldn't bug me that much. Like I'm not always on eBay checking the comps on my collection. Obviously I have a lot of cards and a lot of like low end cards, so it's not really my game. So I wouldn't have been that upset. I think this is one of the points that Evan Mathis brought up that I disagree with. I don't condone it at all, but it makes sense. Like he had a lot of made a lot of sense and had a lot of points. As much as it pains me to say that, this is one of the many things that he said that made sense.
Yeah, and it's not only the high end stuff too. I think people kind of assume that, oh, okay, the mantle, all that stuff. Like he was saying that all that stuff that was out, like you have to find a particular card to be able to trim it. Like the cards came in different sizes. We know that they were cut differently. You have to find the ones that were cut bigger, so you have room to trim the card so it's within the range of what they consider an altered card. So, people have been doing this forever, and all of the high-end stuff probably has been found and has been altered by the people who have been doing it for the last 30, 40 years. So, like, they're moving on. Like, there are people out there that are doing it with the lower grade stuff and stuff that won't go through as much scrutiny. If you're taking a card that might have been a 2 or a 3 and making it a 5 or a 6,
right,
for like a $500 card, nobody's gonna think about that, but you're making a huge gain in value by doing that. And that's the one thing that bugs me, though. And like, he did have some information that was good to know. I feel like it's good that the hobby at least has this information out there so we can all be a little more aware. But at the same time, he did not seem to understand at all that he and everybody else that has done it do it for financial gain, to take advantage of somebody that is unknowing to it. If you want to
Literally
trim
the definition of fraud.
yeah, they are. The only reason they do it is for their own financial gain. And the fact that you're not even bringing that up in any of what you're talking about, you're just giving your side, but totally not understanding that you're throwing all these cards into a market that you gained financially on by taking advantage of somebody, and other people are doing that. Like, you don't care about that person who saved up their money to buy this one card that they always wanted. You don't care. Like, you're all about yourself, and
If
you're
it
not
wasn't-
even realizing that.
If it wasn't about the money, if they were selling these cards on eBay or Golden or whatever, and they put in the description, "Oh, I trimmed this card before I sent it to PSA." Yeah, like if you're gonna own it, own it.
Own
You
it,
know,
yeah,
so
absolutely.
like if and you know, I'm guessing people wouldn't pay as much money if they knew a card was obviously trimmed. But then there's that other side where people would be like, "Oh, maybe I'll get a deal on this trim card, then I'll list it and I won't put the it's trimmed,
Absolutely,
and I'll make my money next." You know, it's just, but it really is. It's just like, if you don't see how, like, Ziggy had a good video, his take on this, and we like Ziggy. But I commented, I know Mike, you commented, he brought up the comic book thing. Oh, comic books get
people have a
cleaned and pressed
lot
all
of
the time.
misunderstanding with what
They
is
really
allowed and
do.
what isn't with comics.
Right. And comic books, you can't trim that. They will come back with a purple label if they're trimmed. Like, that's the one thing you can't change. Then
you can,
once it's trimmed,
you
it's
can
done.
remove something that's on there, and we've talked about what we considered card altering before. We kind of came to that conclusion. If you're taking something off and not changing the card or adding anything to it, it's okay.
Right.
And that's kind of how comics work. Like, you can remove stuff from it, you can press it, but you can't trim it. You can't color it. Like, they grade those as a restored comic book. And maybe the card market needs to start doing the same. I don't know. If we're going to accept altering cards, we might as well be upfront about it and not rip people off. Like, I don't have a problem.
That's assuming the grading companies catch it. That's the other problem.
Well, and that was one of the things Evan Mathis said. Like, it was kind of a game, especially in the early days. Like, they were like, so it was he said it was a dopamine rush for the people to send the cards in the PSA
to see if they
see
got
how many they could get past them. Yeah. And, he was blacklisted before Nat Turner even bought the company, and he actually tried to get Nat Turner to allow him to grade cards again, and he wouldn't. So I do question his motives for all the PSA stuff. Like, I'm not the biggest PSA fanboy in the world, but when he clearly wants to be able to grade cards again. Why? Because he wants to be able to make more money by trimming them and frauding people. Like, again, for as honest as he was being, he wasn't being honest about that. I want to grade cards. Yeah, I wish I could grade cards, ... so I can rip people off for my game is what he needed.
He was claiming that he doesn't do trimming anymore and that he doesn't grade cards anymore. And I'm like, dude, like, he's definitely trimming cards, definitely going through a third party to get stuff graded. Like, there's no doubt. I was
just going to say that. Exactly right.
Yeah, and he even said that when I'm not sure how where we're going to go with the conversation, but I mean, he even said that modern, ultra modern cards are easier to trim. And whenever I think of trimming, I think of like 1950s, 60s, 70s cards.
Yeah.
But he said the ultra modern is even easier to trim than the older stuff, which is wild.
Yeah, we talked about this. I think it was last summer we talked about this, where it was, I believe, Panini Contenders, the ticket cards. Like, there were a couple of Trey Lances, I think maybe even Trevor Lawrence. There were a few of the autographs that were flagged as trimmed. I forget if they were. I wish I could remember the story, but I think they were graded, and then
they got through.
They got through, and then someone found where it's the same card, but you can tell that some of the top edge was definitely different than it was when they were first
cards down,
pressing the card
and then trimming a little bit off.
Right. Yeah. So that's what you had to do with your Ricky Henderson, man. You already got the press down. Now you just had to trim it.
If only that video came out a month earlier, Mike, you'd have been okay.
I know. I would have been good if I only had like a stack of, remember, encyclopedias? Remember when people used to have those in their house? Sit those on top of the card for a week and then just trim that puppy right up. I'll have 9 in no time.
One other point that I heard saw a lot of people talking about was like how well you're allowed to like they restore artwork and stuff like that, like famous pieces. I'm like, yeah, but there's one Mona Lisa, there's one King Tut's sarcophagus, like there's only one, and that's out there for the public to see. These cards are very different, even as limited as something like the 52 Mantle is.
And they're not selling the Mona Lisa.
It's a different thing, exactly. Yeah,
and
they're not selling the Mona Lisa.
Doing that stuff to art to save it, to preserve it for the future. They're not doing it for financial gain. There's a big difference. And that's what I want to take this discussion into, is how this hobby, like especially now, seems more than willing to normalize a lot of behavior that shouldn't be normalized. I was like, how many reaction videos were there to the trimming thing? Tons of them. Any content creator you watch, pretty much. But the comments, like I was reading, and just like my mind was blown by how many people were like, it's yeah, maybe not, but they're probably like just people willing to go, okay, well, that's how it is. What are you going to do? And maybe I see the point, but we can't let this be normal. Like you're still frauding people again, ... So I can sell it to you and you don't know it and I can make more money, is at the end of all of these reasons why it's okay to do it, right? Like, what is happening to the hobby that we can't even agree that trimming cards shouldn't be just okay?
We're three old guys yelling at the sky or whatever.
You know what I mean? We do
like,
that well,
yeah. I mean, that's what kind of what we're doing. Like this, I mean, the hobby is different because of the pandy and all the
people that got into it just because they want to make money off of it, is what you're really saying.
It's like the people don't care about the cards as much as we do. They care about the money part of it.
And it's kind of it's such a bad pun, but it's built on a house of cards. Like, right, this whole hobby is built on this house of cards, where if someone starts to take a serious look at card trimming, and we're going to do something very different, we're going to recall these cards, and we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and people are like, whoa, wait a minute, that might affect me then. Like, I don't want this stuff to affect me. Like, okay, sure, if you want to deal with like the Honus Wagner that was trimmed or whatever, that's fine, because I'll never have that card. Or was it the Mantle that has the really long history that's known trim or whatever? Like
the Honus Wagner, yeah.
Is it the Honus Wagner? Okay, so
which is, can I interject, is worth more now, even though it's known
because of the story.
Yeah,
because of the story, right? But like, okay, you can fix that. I don't have a problem with that because I'll never own that card. But don't start coming after the things that affect me, because if it affects me, then I'll be really upset about it. And it's like, oh, we're okay with this because, again, it won't affect me personally, or we're okay with that. I just don't want my cards to lose value. And if you do anything to make my cards lose value, then that's terrible. Like, so I don't care if you fix the hobby, as long as it doesn't negatively impact me. But unfortunately, a lot of the things that we're talking about that you need to do to fix the hobby is going to affect literally everyone in the hobby. So, and no one's willing to accept that. No one's willing to say, okay, I'm willing to take a little bit of a loss on my cards, or my cards go down a little bit in value, as long as things are better. Like, it's, I don't know.
People want to protect their investment more than making things better.
Right.
And I mean, that's the truth. Like, unfortunate, but that is how it is. And like, it's just, I'm an old person, and I am
the oldest of the group.
But I mean, just, there's so much in the hobby that drives me crazy. Like, I've seen so many of the people that defend Panini on the whole redemption card thing and not feeling like, I've seen people, oh, well, they can't because of the pandemic, or like just all kinds of excuses for companies to treat them badly. Like, thank you, sir. Can I have another? That's like, that should be the hobby motto, because so many people just put up with it. Like, the prices of boxes that come out, the whole with Panini changing the way they sell things with the reverse Dutch auction. Like, you can't make money on cards by ripping them anymore, because Panini was like, oh, people are making money on our product. Why don't we just make that profit too. Like, and everybody's like, oh, okay, well, if you want to charge me $1,000 for that box you charged me 150 for 2 years ago, yeah, okay, well, I understand. You got to do what you got. Like,
Right.
they
Not only that, but then you open that box, $1,000 box, and you get Panini points.
Yeah,
You don't even get your autograph out of it.
Yeah,
like, and
well,
we
can't
buy
get
another box.
There's nothing worth any of those Panini. Like, they never put anything up there that's like, we made the joke that's we got on Sports Card Dad's radar when I made that Tom Savage joke. I mean, those are Panini points. I mean, and to your point about like redemptions, no one everyone gives Panini a pass until it affects them. As soon as it affects them, it's like, this is the worst thing in the world. I can't believe this happened. I'm cool if it happens to everyone else, but now it's affecting me. No, that's not cool at all. So yeah, it's very egocentric, the hobby, and if it doesn't affect you directly, it just feels like you're willing to give them a pass. And the $1,000 box thing, I used to think $100 a box was a lot. Again, I'm old.
Used to be,
okay.
Yeah.
But like, and I want to say that you're right, EP. You hit the nail on the head with the pandemic stuff. I mean, boxes of cards a couple of years ago were only $250 a box. How in the world did it get to the point where everyone's just okay now paying quadruple what they were being charged for just a handful of years ago? It's mind blowing.
They think they can have a chance at getting that $1,000
Justin Herbert, that Justin Herbert,
Justin Herbert, $100,000 Justin Herbert. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
101, you threw the 101 out there. That's a 6-figure card. Got to send it to PSA, get it graded so I can make more money.
Did you guys watch the Ken Golden show yet? Have you?
Not yet.
I
heard a few good things about it. Beyond
it's very good. But the one comment he made, I want to say it was in the first episode. He was talking about opening up a box of cards, and he was like, "This is the closest thing to gambling that the hobby has." And everyone was like, "Did he just say gambling? Did he just refer to it as gambling?" And people don't want to call it that because they're worried about regulation or anything. But it really is. I mean, and you're gambling, and it's fine if the gamble is $100 for the box, right? It's fine. But when you're paying $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 for a box of cards, and you get $1,000 worth of return of a $5,000 box, if that, I mean, that's terrible.
You're talking about redemptions too, Joe. I actually had a discussion with somebody on Twitter who was mad at Leaf for suing CD Lamb. He's like, oh, well, that's a good way to have nobody ever want to sign with you. And I was like, this is how you're normalizing these athletes who contract to do something like that. My whole point wasn't whether or not, he should have. It was CD Lamb said, I will sign this many for this much money, and then just didn't bother to do it. But you agreed to do it. If you don't want to do it, don't agree to do it. There's no problem. But don't agree that you're going to do it and then not do it. And then people defend that person. Say what you want about Brian Gray. He was doing what he needed to do for the collectors that were buying his product. And to see something like that and go, nope, that's bad. I was just like, how? I don't know. I see so much of that. I don't understand. I didn't even get into this part too, but the people that sell on Twitter and stuff that make you pay their selling fees. Come on. Oh, I'm going to buy this $1,000 card from you. Plus you want me to pay the 3% on PayPal. Come on.
Right.
Oh, that's like walking into Walmart and using your card. They're like, oh, you have to pay this much more because you're using a card. And
which some people used to do that. Some stores used to do that.
They're not allowed to do it. Yeah.
But they would charge you more.
It's just I don't know. I see so much and it frustrates me, but I'm an old man yelling at the clouds. So.
Well, you're a businessman. You understand business practices, and that's the issue. Some of these people don't think about it in terms of being a good businessman, running a good business, as you should.
Simple, basic business. Yes. There is something, I don't care what year it is, to be said about having a good transaction with somebody that you're doing business with. I think you're better off paying that fee and making that other person happy, because if they're happy, they're going to go, you know what? I bought from him before. I'll buy from him again. You know, it's
right.
the coming back. Like everybody looks at each transaction individually and doesn't think of any long-term strategy. They're all just about, flipping the card and make it as much money as possible, even if I have to get your 3% for the PayPal fee. And it's just, right. I don't know, like there's so much of that as somebody who's been in business my whole life, I just see it and I'm like, why can't you just do this for the guy of what he's asking? Like he's not being unreasonable.
You
make a little bit less money and make somebody really happy. That's usually a good thing for business. Go ahead, Joe.
Right. There are times where on eBay I'll eat the cost of the shipping. Like if I sell multiple cards to someone and like, I'm definitely gonna have to go from a eBay standard envelope to a first class bubble mailer. I'm not going to say, oh, hey, I had to go up, so give me another $1 or $2. Like I'll just eat the cost of the shipping. It's like, oh, I got someone who buy multiple cards from me and it's going to cost me a couple extra bucks to send it bubble mailer with tracking. I'm cool with that. Like you made someone really, really happy because you gave them a good deal on the cards and you shipped them better than what they expected to get them because again, you go from a envelope to a bubble mailer. Going back to the redemption thing, I cannot believe someone would take the side of the athlete there. I need to meet this person. Like someone who's making millions upon millions of dollars to play a game. First and foremost, I mean, we're all entertained by it. We all play fantasy football. We all love it. But then they're paid more money to sit down at a table and sign. I can't imagine how many Leaf had him sign, probably a couple thousand to be honest. But I mean, really? Like
he took the money for it.
You took the money for it. I mean,
I guess you get paid as you send them in, so they don't get the money up front, but you are signing a contract.
You still broke a contract
saying I will provide you with 500 of these. So, like, if you're not going to provide 500, don't sign the damn contract.
Right. I don't understand how you can defend that. And for all his faults, I think we said this last week too, for all his faults, Brian Gray, pretty good at, he did something that other companies are afraid to do. And
it worked.
He went out and it worked.
It worked really
It's what CD Lamb and people start getting their CD Lamb redemptions pretty quick,
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to crap on the card manufacturers and card companies and the people that run the cards, and it's easy to love your favorite athlete. So I think that's a big part of the reason why that person defended CD Lamb in that one. I can't think of any other good reason why they would do that.
And apparently, I would bet you any money they didn't have a CD Lamb redemption they were waiting on.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
Because if they did, they would not have that same opinion of CD Lamb and whether or not he has to sign cards.
Well, hopefully in a few years when Fanatics has the NFL license, you'll be able to buy the CD Lamb spot and get it in a break on the new Fanatics Live. We talked about their new breaking network, couple episodes ago on the podcast, but they are actually now actively accepting applicants to sell and applicants to be beta tester users for. They also have job listings on their Fanatics Live Twitter too. So I looked, but they didn't have anything for me. No, everything was below me. But I'll just call Mike up and talk to him about a spot. So, yeah. I mean, they already pay me a lot now. I'm not sure actually working for them would pay me anymore. But
you may have to stop that fee that you're getting right now if you started working for them. Like if you became an actual employee,
I'd just make more money doing this. Talking nicely about Fanatics. So obviously, this is the greatest thing ever because Fanatics is doing it. But no, I mean, it is interesting. And now we know that it's definitely taking place. Where I want to go with this is like, what do you think the impact is going to be on WhatNot? We have seen over and over and over again. We haven't even discussed all of them because it happens all the time. But all of these people that are ripping people off in breaks on WhatNot, I don't know why anybody buys into a break on WhatNot. You're just rolling the dice. You have so many people. And part of the reason I think people are doing that is because WhatNot will usually just refund the people that are complaining. So they're not getting rid of these people. Fanatics Live, whether they actually are or not, are supposed to have moderators that are moderating the content to make sure this stuff isn't going on. I would like to hope, because I'm such a Fanatics fanboy, that this is actually true, because I feel like, again, they're a big boy company. I always say this is a service. They know, I'm absolutely guarantee you that Michael Rubin knows the issues people have with breaking on WhatNot, that people are stealing cards. I really, again, until I see that it's not what they're saying it's going to be, I'm going to trust that they know that this is a big problem and they want to try to create a network where people don't have to worry about that. Am I just being a fanboy?
I mean, you are, but not for this.
Okay.
I think.
I mean,
you're
yeah, unabashedly, I am. Yes.
Well, and way back in our first pod, we talked about the interview he did with Bill Simmons, and he identified some of the problems, and it wasn't an all exhausted list. I mean, I'm sure he just he talked about, I think he talked about redemptions, he talked about on card autos, things like that. I'm sure this is something that's definitely on his radar, how terrible WhatNot's been. And I got to say, I mean, I've mentioned this with PSA, like looking to do everything they can to just squash their competition. I think Fanatics is going to do the same thing. They're going to try and take over the world, right, in terms of the hobby.
They will.
And they're looking at something like WhatNot, and they're like, we can do this better with more confidence from the buyer. And we're hiring, we're going to be the buck stops here, right? Like if something happens and someone dips a card, am I using that word right? If someone dips a card,
yep.
Absolutely.
then I don't think they're going to be breaking with Fanatics anymore. And the person, I guarantee you, is going to get that card, or at least the value of that card. It's not just going to be here's your $20 buy-in on this break versus the $2,000 card you could have gotten.
And the breaker will be gone.
And the breaker will be gone for sure. Yeah. So like it's going to, WhatNot is the wild west, man. Yeah, really. It is like, it's just like, there's no U.S. Marshal out there, man. They are just going ape shit. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's going to happen with Fanatics. Like they are going to be a button. As much as I love, like I use this comparison, like those divey type card stores, like, and then the ones that are more like FYEs, or they're very manicured and very sterile. Fanatics is that. Like they're going to be very manicured, very sterile. It's not going to be the Wild West. It's going to be, they're going to have their breakers doing professional breaking. I assume they'll make them all wear shirts. I don't know. That's my hope. But
really
yeah, it's going to be.
But I don't know.
It's going to be a much cleaner environment, literally and figuratively.
But you using the word dips made me think we should do an episode sometime of the words that the new words in the hobby, like a hobby vocabulary. That's an episode. That's a definite episode we should have coming up.
Episode, yeah.
I feel like we've talked about it a number of times, but this is one of those things where, if the hobby doesn't find a way to regulate itself, it's going to get regulated by the government and stuff like that. And this feels like the kind of thing where Fanatics is saying, "Listen, we know what's going on over the other place. We're going to make sure it doesn't happen in our place." And I mean, they're going to be controlling the cards at that point, and you wonder how much of a deal the breakers that are under their umbrella are going to get compared to the other ones. And like, it's going to be interesting very, very interesting to see how everything plays out.
I was going to say the only people that would want to not break with Fanatics are people who don't want Fanatics products, right? Like I couldn't imagine myself buying into a break on WhatNot for a Fanatics product. Right. Why wouldn't I just go to Fanatics Live? Like I would feel safer. I would feel like if anyone's going to get juice boxes, you know what I mean?
Definitely.
But like, unless I want a Panini or a Leaf product or something, or maybe Upper Deck, I guess, like, I don't know why I wouldn't go with the Fanatics Live option.
I just pictured a couple years down the road after the Fanatics takes over all the licenses, just this, like WhatNot is this like seedy back alley kind of place.
I mean, it already is.
Yeah,
I mean, even more so, like
right.
like a dystopian future type of
right.
place.
Yeah, I mean, the whole live shopping thing, I think is a good idea. I think a lot of people enjoy that, and that is a fun format. Like I look back to the shop days, and I think if that's something I would have had available to me at the time, I definitely would have taken advantage of it. But there are a lot of ways that is not good for break. Like there's no video evidence unless you're recording the screen of your break while you're watching it. So like they don't have any way to go back like on YouTube and look at the break and see what happens. So I think that whole setup invites people who want to take advantage of that loophole to be able to do it. So
side question, Mike, as a card shop owner, right? Would, if breaking was a thing back when you had the shop, would the three of us be like famous breakers right now?
Yeah,
like, let's be honest.
Yeah,
we would
probably.
all be. It would be fantastic.
Could you imagine 1999, baby?
Yeah.
Oh my
we opened
God.
so many 99 products on the
we would have been forever noted as, oh, they were the guys that sold me that 1999 product
with the stain.
Brock Heward. I got so many Brock Hewards from those guys.
You think Backyard Breaks is bad with their pumping? If we would have been breaking 1999 football, we could not have said anything about Backyard Breaks. So, full disclosure, yeah. So yeah, I mean, whether or not Fanatics taking over everything and controlling every aspect of the hobby will end up being good or not, time will tell. I know we are all very kind of concerned, even me on the Fanatics payroll. I'm a little worried about that, but I mean, that's where we're going anyway. So let's just hope if they're going to do that, they're going to do it well.
But real quick, if they don't, the hobby won't care. Our whole first segment was
true, yeah.
What are you going to do?
If they suck at it, a couple people complain, but they'll just roll over and take it. So
exactly. All right. So I know how much you guys like to invest, especially in sports cards. So I don't know if you had an opportunity. Our old friend, the sports card investor, Geoff Wilson, released his new investing strategy. You guys watched that, right?
I did not.
You were supposed to watch it.
No,
that
I
was
did
your
not get that
homework for the
assignment.
week.
I did not get that assignment.
Oh,
Whoa.
come on, EP. It was clearly right there on the assignment page. Neither of you watched it.
I didn't see that in Slack. I don't know what you're talking about.
I tried so hard. I really did.
There was a shortened version. At least you watched the shortened version, right? The 20-minute video.
I tried so hard.
Whoa, hang on.
The short video.
How long
is
was
20.
The long video?
90. It was 90 minutes.
Yeah. You watched it though, right? No, you didn't even watch the shortened video.
I missed that one too. I watched people's reaction videos to the video. That was as far as I could get.
I am so disappointed in you
did
for
you
not
watch
doing
it?
God, no. Well, I did. I watched like 5 minutes of it, and I could not take any more. I just couldn't take it. But yeah, he had his expert Teapot. Is that his name?
I can't take any sort of investment advice by someone whose nickname is Teapot. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you're not an expert at anything, especially nicknames. Like, dude.
Oh, come on. Lay off Teapot. He's not that bad.
He didn't
just seemed a little uncomfortable on the couch. But anyway, people are wondering what in the hell we're talking about here. Long story short, Geoff released a video, took his wins and his losses, and he learned from them, and he created a new investment strategy. I'm not going to talk about it because it's just a lot of mumbo jumbo, whatever. Who cares what he does? Do what he wants. See how he works out. But our old buddy Ziggy No had a reaction video to us, and he made a great point. The thing is, Geoff is dealing in graded sports cards, right? Back during the pandemic, it was really easy to buy a graded card and sit on it for a month or two while the whole market was rising quickly and make money on it. Now, Ziggy makes the point that he is taking something that has already had the value maximized. You know, you take a card, you get it graded, it comes back at 10. You just increase the value on it. This is what he's dealing in, and this is why it's hard for him to make money now, because you don't have the whole market going up. So now you're like trying to pick and choose what you think could quickly go up. And there really isn't much of that stuff out there. And Ziggy made the fantastic point. Like, you need to pivot to something else. The money isn't there to be made if you're just buying PSA 10 or even PSA 9 of certain cards, stuff that has already had the value added to it.
I mean, it's a great point. And, you think of Geoff Wilson's biggest, like, I won't call them losses or gains, but his biggest transactions, the PSA 8 star rookie Jordan. I mean, already graded, right?
Yeah.
The PSA 10 Fleer Jordan, already graded. His LeBron James refractor set in PSA 10s, I think they all are already graded. Like, all these, I've seen him grade, like, off the top of my head, I can remember one, and it was a Kaboom. And he had that graded, and it came back, I think, a 9.5. But, like, that's not his thing. And then, the other thing people can sometimes do to make money, if they're buying graded slabs, if they look at the card and say, this actually, if I resubmit this, I bet you it could get a higher grade. He doesn't seem like a crack and resubmit kind of guy either. So he is buying the cards at their final level, at their final point. And you can't make money like that. And in fact, a lot of the times, even if you sell it for what you paid for it, unless you're selling it cash for cash, you're going to lose money on it. Like, if you try and sell it on a platform like eBay or Golden or any of those places, you're paying a fee. So, like, if you buy a card for $10,000 and sell it for $10,000, unless you're buying and selling cash for cash, you're losing money on that card. So Ziggy's right. I distinctly remember him buying graded cards and sealed wax. That's all I know about Geoff Wilson's investment strategy. And you're not going to make money. And, sealed wax, as expensive as it is now, you can't buy that and hope to flip it or hold it and turn it into a profit. Because, again, these aren't 2018 prices like the Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson class. How much was a box of Prism then? Maybe $200, right?
At the most, yeah.
Right.
Maybe $150.
Now you're buying Prism with Kenny Pickett and Brock Purdy for $750. What do you think you're going to hold and sell those? So yeah, he can do him. He has all the money in the world apparently, and that's fine. But yeah, you're not going to make money doing what he does.
I mean, you could possibly make money depending on what it is, vintage or whatever, but you're going to make like $5 in a year. It's going to go up a very little amount. You have to hold this stuff for a long time. You have to hope that Joe Burrow turns into the next Brady if you're holding the 2020 boxes and stuff like that. Like that's the way you're going to make money. Like, but it is a long way down the road to make the money. This is not the pandemic. These aren't precious metal gems during the pandemic, like that sort of stuff. Like there's just some where Jordan rookies during the pandemic. Like that's just not. It was that was a very, very, very small, like, little blip in the timeline.
And he bought one of the Jordans during the pandemic. He didn't sell. He bought one of the Jordans during the pandemic. That was, what I sent you guys a text because I made a comment that was like $1 million card, but it was like, I think he bought it for like $750,000. But still, he bought it at like the highest point. And to your point, EP, about like Burrow and I throw in guys like Herbert and players like that. They have to be a Brady to make it worth it. A lot of these cards, being Brady is already baked in. You look at a Justin Herbert card, his cards are selling like he's going to win 7 Super Bowls. So, how much more can they go up, even if he turns out to be Brady? There is no way that those prices are sustainable for someone who's made the playoffs once. Right. They're already baked in, like he is going to win multiple Super Bowls.
Yeah, I was talking more like the sealed stuff because then people will be clamoring for it more so than the actual cards. Like that would be how the sealed stuff would go up. But as far as cards themselves, graded cards, like again, vintage is probably the only way, and that's a very, very, very slow game, very, very long.
And they're all
game.
Trimmed.
Damn it! You beat me to the joke.
You were taking a drink. I got it. Well, at the end of the day, like I question if he's really even pivoting. Like, he's a content creator. He makes money from having a big following, doing those beautiful videos. He has great production. They're fun videos for those kind of people to watch. I don't think he's really about making money selling cards. If you want to do that, do what Chris Sewell does, baseball card collector, investor, dealer. He makes money selling cards. Watch, like, what is not easy anymore. It's not sexy, but what you have to do is you have to buy cards, get ones graded. You have to do raw to grade, have to have an eye for what to look for, know what to grade. You can make money that way. You can make money by buying collections at the right price, moving that stuff, but it's a lot of work. And that's what I don't think somebody like him with his platform is really interested in doing a lot of work. He just wants to have the perception out there that he is this high roller, so people will watch his content. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, if you're in it for the content, you're in it for the content, but you're not really trying to make money in cards. Like, for somebody that has 250,000 followers, I'm sure he would get offered all kinds of good cards to look at, to grade, like raw cards. If he went on his channel, say, I'm buying blah, blah, blah to blah, blah, blah and raw, right, he would get a lot of people offering that to him. He doesn't do that. So he's really not about trying to do the work to make money. It's all about the image and about getting the views, which, again, that's fine, but I don't know, maybe be a little more transparent with it. What do I know?
Well, that's what I was going to say. That's the problem. It's like he goes out and, I made this comment before. He goes out and calls himself an sports card investor. It's in the name, yet he tells people, don't listen to my investment advice. It's like, wait a minute. And then he has this little 90-minute video, which maybe I'll have a couple of beers and try and watch it at some point. But like, he has this 90-minute video of, hey, I'm going to try a new investment strategy. Let me bring my expert on to the show to bounce the ideas off of. Meanwhile, the expert works for him. What's the expert going to say? No, this is a bad idea. Stop paying me, fire me. Like what's going, so he brings this investment expert on, but you're the sports card investor. Why do you need another expert to come and tell you what is right and wrong about your strategy? It's very confusing. And
he's the data guy, right? Isn't he the data guy?
He's the market movers guy. Right. But if market movers is so great, Geoff can't pick it up himself and look at it. I'm really like confused about the whole relationship there on that little video. But yeah, to bring in Teapot, again, terrible nickname, to bring him in and like ask him.
Why are you hammering the guy?
I'm really drive by on Teapot. He works for Geoff Wilson. I mean, anyone who works for Geoff Wilson,
taking Geoff's money.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I don't know. Has he been paid? We probably pays him in cards that he can't sell. But yeah, I don't know.
I mean, he's got him there because nobody wants to listen to Geoff Wilson talk for 90 minutes straight by himself. Like, he's got to have somebody else there.
He has 250 subscribers. People,
yeah, but nobody would listen to him talk for 90 minutes straight.
Those like 8 people that were in that hall where he gave his one-man show, his little TED talk, they wanted to see him.
They wanted it.
Well, it's different in person, but nobody's going to watch a 90-minute video of just Geoff Wilson staring at the camera for the entire time.
I don't know. I think we first episode of your day drinking with Joe and EP or whatever it's called. I don't know.
Yeah. We just sit there and live react to the 90-minute. Yeah. That sounds like a guy I'd have to get pretty drunk.
A watch along. Absolutely.
Watch along.
Love that. All right. Well, we're going to wrap things up this week with a quick little look at the gem rate numbers for April. PSA graded 1.22 million cards again. They were down 1% in sports cards with 669 and 557 in non-sports and trading card games. SGC did 94K. They were down 22% because their top special was over and they didn't replace that. So I imagine with the Bowman special, they'll go back up next month. And Beckett had 56K. I'm not doing CSG because they're still doing their pop report maintenance, whatever.
What is going on
forever. But the one little tidbit I found interesting, other than PSA grades a lot of cards, did you guys see what the number 1 graded sports card was for April?
Oh, no.
Take a guess.
Just an individual card.
Yeah, which card did they grade the most of?
89 Upper Deck Griffey.
There you go. Nailed it. 1,189 Upper
Wow.
Deck Griffey rookies.
I was gonna
were
say something
graded in
ultra
April.
modern. Wow.
Isn't that insane? Like,
It is,
think about that. Like, that card is what, 150 years old now, right? My math is right there. But
he was the coach for the World Baseball Classic, so I mean, like, he was back in the public eye and stuff. I think that probably was a big.
But
1,100 cards still.
Who did
I got two. I have two. I haven't graded yet.
Wow,
that's fair. I mean,
there are so I love that card, and it will always be iconic. But come on, that card is worthless. Like, it really is. That card shouldn't be worth any more than his Donruss or his Fleer. Like, there are just as many, if not more, of the Upper Deck out there. There has to be. Like, that is a crazy amount of a card that is, what, 34 years old now? Like,
and
to
of
be
a card
graded.
That, again, during the pandemic, you would have assumed everyone would have graded the.
Well, they were.
How are they? How are they still right? How are they still finding 1,100 in 1 month to send off to grade? Where are these cards coming from?
Wow.
Upper Deck's still printing them. They're sending one out the back door to distributors.
Or they still have piles of the ones they printed back then.
Right.
They have one baseball license deal with one player and one team, and that is Ken Griffey Jr., Seattle Mariners.
Yeah.
So they're just printing that 89
printing them off.
Some guy somewhere has a key to, like, a secret warehouse. Every now and then, when he needs to make his mortgage payment, he opens it up, takes another stack full, sends them into PSA.
Could you imagine if printing plates were as, like, prevalent of a insert back then? Like, the Griffey one would not have made the set because they needed it to keep printing those. or it would be just worn thin. There would be, like, nothing on it. It's like, oh yeah, we use this so hard that there's
why are there 12 one of 120 printing plates for the 1989 doesn't make any sense.
All right, guys. Well,
I just want to throw one thing in here, like, with the SGC. Yeah, let's go ahead. That's 22% down for SGC, but then they got the Bowman one coming up. So they have Bowman Chrome, Bowman, and Topps Series 1. That's a lot of really fun cards that a lot of people are going to be looking for, the rookie cards and that sort of stuff from these sets in the future. And they're really doing they're doing what they can, I think, to get a lot of their slabs out there for the future. I think that's a really, we talked about it before, but it's really smart marketing, and I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah, they'll definitely be back up like another 30% probably next month. Yeah. So, all right. I think we covered it all this week. I think we really, really did cover it all this week. So I will see you next week. Take care, guys. See you.
See you, boys.